Good morning, everyone. Welcome to True North and happy Valentine's Day. I'm your host, Renata Marino, and this is True North, a video and audio podcast focused on overcoming adversity and finding your purpose. Welcome. Today, we have a great topic to talk about. The topic is self-love, very appropriate for this Valentine's Day. Many of us view the term self-love in several ways. First of all, most people think self-love is selfish. Secondly, most people think self-love is an overused term. And third, most people don't really know what self-love is. Today, we're going to talk about just that. What is self-love, and how does self-love lead to our success? First, I would like to define what self-love is. There's various definitions. Everyone has their own take. Speaking from personal experience, I think I knew what the definition of self-love is, but I never really knew until I had to learn it through action by pouring it into myself. One of the key things I think as human beings is, especially this Valentine's Day, and this is key. Typically, when we think about Valentine's Day, it's romantic. We see love and partnership and intimacy. It is a romantic thing when we think about Valentine's Day, and it is. It can very well be. But one of the things I think I saw a post this morning that many of us tend to be, we look at movies, we look at how our parents were, we look at the past, we look at romantic novels, we look at all these things, the outside me of what the definition of love is. And it's all about someone else fulfilling a void in us, kind of completing us. So we always look to someone else for affirmation, feeling something inside us that's missing, and we look at a partner or a wife, a husband, or whatever, as someone who is filling the void that we can't fill ourselves. And unfortunately, until you learn that that's not the case, you're going to be constantly striving for someone else to stroke your ego, to fill that void. And that is not the true definition of loving someone or someone loving you. You have to love yourself first. And everyone says that, no one understands it, but I'm going to lay it out for you. Self-love comes from this. Think about this. When you were a child and you were growing up, I'm going to speak from personal experience. And, no parent is perfect. Some of us who are parents, we're trying our best. And I'm sure our children in the future are going to say, my parents didn't give me this, this, and this, and they have to find it for themselves. Growing up, in my case, having had an immigrant father and a second-generation Italian mother who were minorities and moved to a very white community, they were looking to gain acceptance and into a community that they were different in, and they did that through their daughters. They poured everything, they grew all their wealth and poured it all into the education of their daughters. Activities, education. They wanted their daughters to have the best, and that's wonderful. And I'm appreciative, and them investing in us has taken us very far. However, one of the things, at least in my case, that I took into my adulthood was I felt that I had to perform for love. So any type of affirmation, commendation from my parents was, did you get president of the high school? Did you make the soccer team? Did you get the A on the test? I'm not saying that they didn't love me or didn't love me when I was just myself and not performing, but it was emphasized. Performing and achieving was when you got the attention. And so I think as parents, we have to remember that we need to say and show to our children that we love them, even when they're not performing well, or when they're, I love you for you unconditionally. And I think that was one of the things that I was missing as a child, is feeling unconditional love from my parents, even when I wasn't performing. Again, I'm not saying that they didn't love me when I wasn't performing. I'm saying the only time I felt like I was getting attention is when every time I achieved, I felt like I was achieving for them rather than achieving for myself. And so what that experience had affected into my adulthood is performing for love. So feeling like with a partner, if I don't perform, if I don't self-sacrifice myself for the other person, then I'm not showing that I love them. And I also think that act of self-sacrifice to gain affirmation and love from someone else came from my mother. She did that. My grandmother did that. I think a lot of women do that. If I serve the man, if I clean the house, if I make his meal, but give up what I want to do, go to the spa, take a bath, whatever, or even for our children, a lot of times is when we're mothers, we are like, we're not going to go to the spa because I have to do this, or I'm not going to go work out because I have to do this. And we self-sacrifice thinking that that's showing love. The problem is that becomes, that depletes us. And that's taking away from our self-love. So I want to show you guys that when you deplete yourself from your own self-love, pouring love into yourself, that you can't be there for everyone else. You can't, not only can you not accept love from someone else, but you can't give love to someone else. When your cup is empty, you can't give. And so what I want to show graphically in a minute is this vicious cycle of when we don't give to ourselves, we don't give ourselves self-love, not only can we not give to others, but we become depleted and resentful, and we start attracting toxicity, toxic relationships. And so what I'm going to show graphically is when we pour love into ourselves and we pour into the things in our childhood that we didn't get from our parents, meaning, and it's a very hard thing to do, is rather than looking for the love in someone else, you need to find the love in yourself. For example, I'm going to give you some examples based on my journey. I love flowers. I mean, obviously I love flowers. So, as little girls, we're the stories we hear, the romantic movies that we see, the novels that we read, they're all about the prince and rescuing the princess, the prince getting the princess flowers, and so we're waiting. Where are my flowers? And so we feel sad because we're not getting the flowers. Like, fulfill me and give me the flowers, buy me the gifts. Where's my gift? It's Valentine's Day. Why didn't my gift show up? Where are my flowers? And so what we need to learn is, there's nothing wrong with a man or your partner or someone who cares about you buying you a gift. I'm saying that's great, but to wait and rely on that is the wrong thing to do. You need to do the things for yourself that show yourself that you love yourself. And the problem is, a lot of us were raised, at least in my condition, that self-love is selfish. Doing things for yourself first is selfish. It's not self-sacrifice is love. It is not love. When you self-sacrifice yourself for others, it is not love. You become resentful, depleted, and you're not giving to yourself, and you can't give to others. You are, and that's why I want to show why when you are depleted, you can't give and you can't be successful. So when you pour the love into yourself and you're not relying on someone else and you're not waiting for those flowers, but you're doing it for yourself, you can give so much more. You're like, I'm making myself happy. I just talked to a female founder who just left a cannabis startup. She's smart because she's also one of my industry advisors for cannabis and for nutrition. She's an expert in operations. Unbelievable. She completely rehauled his cannabis operations processes and saved them during COVID. Literally, she's amazing. She's a badass. She's a blazing babe, of course. Anyway, Blazing Babes is a community of female founders that I launched 7 years ago. And great things are happening for us this year, actually, in the next couple months. But anyway, she just left a cannabis startup, and now she's at a new startup, scaling it and implementing all their processes. And it's a flower company, and they're expanding into different states. They're in Illinois, and she just sent me a code yesterday. She's like, if you want to buy yourself some flowers, here's a code for Valentine's Day. But I'm ordering flowers from her company every week, every 2 weeks, and they're delivered. And what I like about flowers, and again, this is self-love. And so I made the decision about a year ago that I'm going to buy my flowers every 2 weeks. So I go to Whole Foods and I buy my flowers. And I have beautiful, if you saw my place, they're everywhere. They make me happy. They smell wonderful. They're always vibrant colors. Like I like bright pinks and just cheery, happy colors. They make me smile. And what's more important is I don't like it just showing up as an arrangement. I actually like loose flowers. The process of sitting in front of my sink and taking a flower, I'm going to take one out. I'll take one out. Taking a flower like this, a rose, a pink rose, and when you get flowers, you have to kind of, I'm going to do this one, but you take the this process of like depetaling the flower to take all the dead ends off, and then cutting the bottom and actually putting in the arrangements one at a time. Can I tell you that is self-love for me, because that's therapeutic. It's an enjoyment, because I mean, again, it's self-discovery of what makes you happy and what makes you feel loved. It's almost like a caring thing. I care about these flowers. I was never I always loved flowers, but I was never I didn't realize this until now. This was recent, the past couple of years, because I was depleting myself and I wasn't finding the things that actually made me feel loved. And when I do the process of, like right now, this one needs to be, I'm going to walk around and do this. For me, everybody has to find their own thing. So the process of putting the arrangement together is self-love for me. And so when the masterpiece is done, and I have this room full of, right now I probably have about 7 arrangements, all beautiful, vibrant, yellow, pinks, reds. And I feel fulfilled. I feel like that's giving myself self-love. And so what you should do is you do things for yourself that you would want someone else to do. So I'm always waiting around for my flowers from a man, and I get nothing, zero. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy those flowers for myself, and I'm not going to do it in a resentful way. I know my mother did this a lot, and I'm not throwing my mother under the bus, but I'm telling you what I saw. And my dad would buy flowers for my mom every so often, which is great. But when your mother says this, and I'm not throwing my mother under the bus, but when she says this, I would never say this in front of my kids. When she says, well, I might as well buy myself flowers because nobody else is, that's resentful. That's not self-love. Self-love is you enjoy flowers. Self-love is you enjoy working out every morning at 5 a.m. Self-love is you enjoy putting an outfit on that makes you feel beautiful. Taking care, doing your hair every morning, putting makeup on it every morning, taking an Epsom salt bath in candlelight with, Epsom salt, eucalyptus Epsom salt for an hour. Read a book, reading a novel, a romantic novel, speaking of Valentine's Day and love. taking a walk in nature. And so we need to set up daily protocols, daily routines for ourselves that pours self-love into ourselves. And I took some notes on this, which includes, and I'm an investor in health and wellness, self-love, investing in mental health, physical health, and emotional health. So those are 3 areas that we need to pour self-love in on a daily basis. It has to be scheduled into your calendar. And this is what's going to happen. When you do that, you are going to attract love into your life. And when I mean by love, I don't mean, it is romantic love, but more importantly, it's people like you, people on your same, that pour love into themselves, that are good people. When you don't take care of yourself, when you're not pouring self-love, when you're not doing your flowers, when you're not doing your Epsons, when you're not taking a walk in nature, when you're not exercising, when you're doing toxic things to your body, when you're avoiding pouring love into yourself, you are going to attract toxic people in your life. You will not attract love in your life. And when I say love, I'm talking about romantic love. I'm talking about people who are good for your health, good for you, are good people. It all starts with yourself. So I'm going to bring up a slide. I don't know how to do this, but let me see if I can try to do it with me also in the picture. If not, I'll have to just throw the slide up, but bear with me. It's not going to work. Let's see, maybe it will work. No, it doesn't work. Sorry, I need to figure out how to do it, so I'm next to it. So here's, I have 2 circles here, and this is what's important to note is this. Self-love, when you pour it into yourself, it's a cycle. Self-love, when you pour it into yourself, will lead to success. It is a cycle. Okay, so I'm going to start with on the left, if I can see. Let me get my glasses. Okay. So self-love, like I said before, attracts love. So what we need to know is that, and let me start off by talking about what self-love is. So self-love, as I mentioned before, is treating ourselves and our thoughts kindly and positively. It includes what goes on in your head. It includes your mental thoughts. When you have negative thoughts out of fear, out of anger, out of resentment, it is going to lead to your emotional state of negativity and your actions. So that's one of the things that's really important, is when you do not invest in self-love, meaning you're doing things that fill your own cup, that make you happy, like buying myself flowers or going for a walk or exercising and eating healthy and, taking care of my mind, body, and soul, you will have negative thoughts in your head. You will have fearful thoughts, resentful thoughts, angry thoughts, and those thoughts are going to lead to a negative emotional state. And then you will not only attract negative people, but your actions will be negative, and it will not lead to success. Everything starts with self-love. Secondly, forgiving ourselves from the past. So many of us, myself included, have made choices based on the limited information that we had that potentially we're ashamed of or upset about. Bad marriages, bad job description, nobody's perfect. So I think the number one thing for us to get to a place of loving ourselves and pouring love into ourselves is forgiving ourselves from the past. And then we have to forgive others. So this is the toughest part, because that negativity, that resentfulness, we cannot pour love into ourselves until we forgive ourselves and forgive others. And so it's the hardest challenge, because until we get to the point in our lives where we recognize that people hurt us, not intentionally, but because they were hurt. And so they're passing down the generational pattern of hurt from their parents, their community to us. And until we get to a place of forgiveness and understanding and wrap our arms around it, we cannot pour love into ourselves. Okay, so that's love. The other thing is, what is important here is when you give to yourself, and you're feeling good that you are able to not rely on someone else to fill that void of lack of love, the flowers, for example, and you do it to yourself and you're happy doing it. You're not feeling lack. You actually feel fulfilled on your own without anyone else. You're not relying on someone else to fill a void in you. You're actually relying on yourself. And what happens is, like I mentioned before, you attract love. You attract love, and you literally, and this includes like not just romantic and friendships. This includes like interviewing. I'm going to give you an example. There was someone I know who was in a state of panic and a terrible time in his career, where he literally, if you looked at his face, he looked like he was in a panic. His startup failed. He didn't know what to do. He was, looking to raise capital. Nobody was investing in him. And he literally went to a career advisor and they said, listen, if you have that state of panic, that look on your face, the desperation, you're not going to get the job. And so that has a lot to do with confidence and filling your own cup and being proud of yourself and your worth. It's the only way is self-love, is to feel worthy and in worth on your own, rather than someone else stroking your ego, because it's not sustainable. You have to feel worth and self-love on your own in order for you to attract a healthy, loving, kind relationship, whether it's an intimate partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's business professionals. You have to. Okay, so I am going to walk through that self-love circle on the left. So as like I said before, when you invest in yourself and you invest in self-love, you attract love. You attract amazing people in your life. And then this is the thing that's really amazing. And again, I didn't know this until I started doing it on my own, and it's crazy. But when you attract love, then you have the ability to give love, because you're not relying on the other person to fill a void. You don't feel desperation. You don't need your ego stroked. When you come together with someone else, whether it's a business partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's an intimate partner, you have the ability to give. You have strength. You're in a position of strength because you've poured love into yourself and you're not relying on them. It's like when you're raising money for a startup and a venture capitalist says no, or an investor says no. It's not meant to be, and you cannot have that feeling of desperation, or you're never going to raise the capital. You have to be confident on your own and say, it wasn't meant to be, I'm going to keep going. And that's kind of the state you need to get in. And then when you're giving love to others, when you're helping them, when you're like doing kind things for other people and they're giving it back to you, that's when your success and happiness happens. That's when you feel fulfilled, because you're not relying on somebody else to fill that void. You fill it yourself, and they're willing to give, and you can give. It is a cycle. It is a cycle. Now, flip side, if you go on the other side, if you're self-sacrificing, if you're giving up your must-haves, if you're giving up your workouts, if you're not getting your flowers and you're waiting around for the flowers, and you're not taking care of your health, you're not eating healthy, you're turning to some toxic negative behavior, you're just not taking care of your body, you're hurting your body by putting bad things inside it. Alcohol, drugs, overeating, bad fried food. I mean, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not treating yourself how you would want someone else to treat you. You're going to start being negative. You're going to have those negative thoughts. You're going to have those negative emotions. You're going to have negative behavior, and you're going to attract negative people. People that use you, they manipulate you, they control you, they don't love you for you, they love you for other stuff. You're just not going to get out of this vicious cycle. Then you're going to feel depleted, and it's just going down and down and down further into a tornado spiral that it's very difficult to get out of, because the more you stay in this vicious negative cycle, the deeper into the tornado you're going to get, and it's harder to dig yourself out of the hole. And so it's really important to start with self-love and investing in yourself and taking care of yourself, whether it's mental health, as I mentioned, emotional health, and physical health. I'm going to flip out of this screen. Hold 1 second. So, as I mentioned before, when you invest in self-love, that equates to success and happiness. Self-love is emphasized in 3 areas: emotional, mental, and physical. In order to create self-love for yourself, which leads to success, you need to set up daily protocol in your calendar where you're doing at least one thing that covers mental health, physical health, and emotional health. When you do that, you will attract positive people and success in your life. I hope that was helpful. I wholeheartedly believe in this. I did not believe in it, or I knew about it until I actually went through and had to really invest in myself and my own self-love. So I buy myself flowers every week, every other week. Now I'm going to sign up for a female founder who, I'm sorry, she's not a founder. She's the head of operations for a startup that delivers flowers. I like the loose flowers. I like to put them together myself. So anyway, today's session was on self-love and the importance of self-love and how it leads to success. I hope that all of you take the time to invest in self-love every day, at least one thing a day in those 3 areas I mentioned: mental health, emotional health, and physical health. How you take care of your body, what you put inside your body, their thoughts in your mind, how you get yourself in a positive state, all lead to success and happiness because you attract goodness, you attract love into your life. And it becomes this amazing circle of love that you pour into yourself, and then you can pour it into others. Before I do cards, which I love doing at the end of this podcast, I like to do rapid fire. And I do want to bring on some guest speakers. I have yet to decide who's coming on, but I will bring some guest speakers on and do rapid fire questions. But I want to turn to this book. A friend recommended it. I'm sure everyone knows this book. I actually haven't finished reading it. I'm halfway through like 7 books. Speaking of love and Valentine's Day, this book is The 5 Love Languages. I'm sure everyone's read it. If you haven't read it, it's really good. I'm halfway through. And you know what? It's so funny. I think the thing that's cool is that there's like examples of people who have been in relationships. It's how to express heartfelt commitment to your mate. What's most important about this is identifying your love language. And when I say that, it's you need to know what your love language is, and you need to know what the other person's love language is. For example, if the other person loves giving gifts, they need to know, do you like receiving gifts? If the other person likes acts of kindness, the most important thing is understanding what the other person's love language is. You can have a discussion. What's your love language? If the other person, this is the thing, if the other person loves acts of kindness, okay, like showing up for an event, supporting them in their career, like acts of kindness, doing something nice, like if they love you when you make the meal, like if you know that the other person loves, this is key because I hate cooking. If you know that the other person loves it when you cook, like they're so appreciative and they show the appreciation through action, they show it. If I'm just saying cooking, could be anything, okay? Helping them with their resume, I don't know, helping them with their business, whatever it is. And you hate cooking or whatever, or you're not really like I'm an acts of kindness person. Like I go out of my way for people. And the thing is, if they don't appreciate that, I need to know that they appreciate it. So it's a two-way street. So you have to be willing to do something that normally you don't do but you love the person so much that you're going to do it. So what if somebody's a gift giver? Like my partner's loves giving gifts. And I'm like, yeah, it's material things. I don't give a shit. But I'd rather have support in my career, or like helping me with my career, or, publicly acknowledging that they love me, or whatever it is. Like, what is it? So it's acts of kindness, words of affirmation. Like I need to be told and shown that I'm loved. All right. So what is it? It's acts of kindness. So doing something that make people feel good, like acts of kindness, like a service. Words of affirmation. like saying how much you appreciate them, you love them, like on a daily basis or whatever the cadence is. What is it? I can't. Okay, wait. Acts of kindness, words of affirmation. Oh my God, I see. I should know this. Oh my God. Oh, quality time. I'm cheating. It's Cliff Notes. Quality time. Like I need time. I need quality time, and not when you're on your phone and you're like, texting some other female while you're with me. Juggling multiple women. Sorry. It's funny. It's not funny. But I know people that do that. Gifts. Oh, as I say, gifts, gift giving. Oh, acts of service, which is whatever. Physical touch. I mean, I know I need physical touch. Like I need, and you know what's interesting about physical touch is, this is interesting, guys. Have you ever thought about this? And we'll do cards. Have you ever thought, if you grew up with parents that really didn't show affection with each other? My parents never showed affection with each other. Ever. But they respect each other. But they rarely showed affection. There's no handing. And now they're holding hands now. They're in their 80s. But growing up, they weren't mean to each other. They just weren't holding hands. They didn't, like, I think it's nice kissing each other. Now they do. I think for showing your kids, it's not a forced thing, but hopefully showing your kids love, love in between a couple is important. And not just showing, like kissing them, but holding their hands, but doing nice things shows your kids what real love is, and what real respect is. And I think it's really important it's not just telling your kids what it is, but showing your kids kindness, respect, love through acts of service, through physical touch, like holding hands, rubbing someone's back, like in front of your kids. My parents never did that. And in my marriage, my 15-year marriage, 0. I think the only time that we held hands was when we were dating. Guys, and when you know your own love language, you know what's compatible with the other person. And if you don't, and if you don't express to the other person what your love language is, what makes you feel loved, they're not going to know. They can't like telepathically like read your mind. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you need to actually communicate. What did I say? How to express heartfelt and communicate to your mate. Communicate what makes you feel loved. Do you know what I'm saying? If holding hands in public, did I say in public? I meant in public. Saying publicly that what you feel about the other person, what makes you feel important, what makes you feel loved, what makes you feel valued. If you have to communicate it with the other person, because they can't read your mind and they're not going to just automatically know. The other thing is, so when you do that in front of your kids, I do believe it sets the example of what, and that's important to me. I think people who've been through toxic relationships, toxic marriages, divorce, when you're in round 2, or if there's a round 2, you have to do a lot of self-evaluation, pour the love into yourself, but also recognize, especially if you have children, the standards, the things that you want out of a relationship that show you love and that you can give love to, not just for yourself, but for your kids. Because you are setting the example, especially when you were in a relationship that was a toxic relationship that they saw. You want to set the new precedent of what real love is and what it should be in terms of kindness, respect, generosity, and love. It has been as one of the number one things for me. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I really, really like this book. I should finish it. I will. Maybe tonight. After I have candy and chocolates. And we have my kids and I have an awesome, thankfully, to a Latina female founder locally. I actually posted on Facebook. She launched a catering business in Chicago, in the city, actually in the West Loop in Chicago. I don't know, maybe I would say 8-10 years ago. And I told her when did I meet her? 2017. I think it was 2017. Sorry, 2007. I met her and she had been in a business. She's in the restaurant business. She's a chef. And she had a beautiful space. She does weddings. And I met her through someone else who's an entrepreneur, another Latinx entrepreneur. And this woman, we did a taste. I did wine and like a taste it. I thought it was like a wedding, like, a tasting for weddings. When I met her, it was so much fun. And I saw her beautiful space. We were going to do a Blazing Babes event there, but I talked to her and I said, you need to have a second location in the North Shore of Chicago. It's totally your clients. And now over COVID, she closed her place in the city and moved to the North Shore of Chicago. And it's my favorite coffee shop. She has a beautiful space. We're doing our next Blazing Babes event, a relaunch event there, hopefully soon. And, she's awesome. And I don't know why I was talking about, why was I talking about her? I can't remember. But she and I were talking about love languages. I think maybe that's why. But anyway, I don't know why I was talking about her. Anyway, let's do cards. I could have her come on here. She's an amazing entrepreneur. Okay, let's do cards. And then I have to start my day. I start my day with you guys. Have you ever become invested in the fate of a reality show character? Oh, yeah. Well, reality show, I don't really like reality shows at all. As an aside, I did try out for Desperate Housewives of Chicago in 2000. I think it was 2016. Oh my God. And I don't know, there's some women on here that follow me that were trying out too. There were a lot of us. They were like, the woman who hosted it, she knew, she knows Kim Kardashian's gynecologist. And she was working with some producer and, I got in. I got into the auditions, but you know what they told me after the interview? That I didn't have enough drama in my life. Because I was a girl power at Blazing Babes, so they wanted me in. And then when I talked about my personal life, they're like, no, not enough drama. Not enough toxicity. No drama, no toxicity. Your life's too boring. It's too simple. You're too good. There's a halo over your head. Yeah, TV, right? Always wants the drama. But have you ever been invested in the fate of a reality show? No, but you know what show I'm totally obsessed with is Stranger Things literally with my kids. Stranger Things, I'm watching it like it's like an addiction because I want to know what's happening. How are they going to solve this problem? I'm addicted. My daughter's going to school. I hear the door opening. But greatest show. But I don't really watch reality show. I actually am obsessed with I was thinking about Jenny McCarthy. I love Jenny McCarthy. I think she's awesome. She posted something amazing today with her second husband, Donnie Wahlberg. It was the most kindest thing. I love her. She's down to earth. She's from the Midwest. All Midwesterners are down to earth. I don't care if you work in Hollywood. And by the way, she still has her house, I think, in St. Charles. She grew up she was a Playboy bunny. That's where Playboy is in Chicago. I interviewed for them in corporate for marketing when I was 29. Yep. I interviewed for Playboy I interviewed with the CFO who went to University of Chicago Booth School of Business. And I was interviewing for a marketing position, brand manager, I think, position. And I remember sitting in Chicago, downtown, near Prentice. Everyone knows where the Playboy, I think it's in the Prentice, it was in the Prentice building. And I was in the waiting room. And I was like, should I look at my resume or should I look at some magazines? So I'm like, let me see what the magazines they have. They only had certain magazines. So I was looking through the So I just sat there. So very interesting. It's a great brand, no longer in existence, right? But it was a great, obviously didn't get the job, chose not to work for Playboy in branding. Okay, ready? Next question. What do you feel guilty about? By the way, guilt is a wasted emotion. But what do I feel guilty about? Let me tell you something about guilt. Guilt is a wasted emotion. We need to stop feeling guilty. If you messed up in the past, you need to forgive yourself, and it was the past. We can always turn over a new leaf every single day. It's a choice. We all have freedom of choice. We're lucky that when we were born, the one thing that we got is freedom of choice. So especially when it comes to self-love, you have the choice to set up daily routine, daily protocols to invest in self-love, to take the time to buy yourself flowers, to take the time to eat healthy foods, to take the time to go on a walk, to exercise. And if you don't do that, you shouldn't feel guilty. There's always tomorrow. So every day you have to pick the effort. And by the way, when you do that, when you make good decisions for yourself, healthy decisions, mental health, physical health, emotional health, and you do it and you're disciplined about it, you have the willpower to stick to it. After 7 days, you're like, I'm a freaking badass. After a month, you're like, I'm a freaking badass. After several months, you're like, I'm a freaking badass. And guess what? You reap the benefits. You're attracting amazing people. You're much healthier. Your body's much healthier. Your mind's much healthier. And you're attracting success. I'm telling you, it is like a domino effect. What do you feel guilty about? I don't feel guilty about anything right now, but I spent a lot of years, the past couple of years, forgiving myself for not knowing certain things, for self-sacrificing myself in my marriage, not putting myself first, giving myself too much to other people when I wasn't getting the same back. So I've forgiven myself and I do not feel guilty anymore. Now I'm more selective on who I give to, who I let into my life, and putting myself first. I don't feel guilty anymore. And I've done nothing to feel guilty about, quite honestly. I've done nothing. I just make really good choices. And so I think when you get to a place in your life where you're making really good choices, you don't have to feel guilty. But the thing is, when you're raised Catholic and you should feel guilty all the time, it's a problem. And until we get to a point in our life where guilt is a wasted emotion and we wholeheartedly believe that, we're just going to always feel stuck. Okay, next question. I love these. My favorite. What intangible gift would you like to receive? Hope, joy, love, and peace. Well, let's put it this way. I'm finally at peace with myself and the world. I don't think I was at peace with myself and the world for many, many years. I think I was always striving for more and feeling lack all the time. Like I have to get the next award, the next trophy, the next accolade, the next media again. So having that restlessness, that obsession, it's a codependency of getting the trophy, getting in the media, getting the next thing. It's a constant, my entire life, that's all I've been doing. My entire life. When is it going to end? When is enough? And so I think when you get to a state of peace, you're not craving that codependency anymore. It is an addiction. Achievement is an addiction. And when you're not addicted to achievement, you're more at peace and you're just doing what you love. I think career success and money and abundance will just flow to you when you're at peace. So I have that. I did not have that. I just had that recently. Past 2 years. I'm at peace. Joy is filling my cup. Joy is surrounding myself with amazing people that love me for me and show me and that are provide unconditional love. Yes, because a friend of mine I just texted a friend of mine. Even when their life is down and out, they're able to give to me. I mean, that's just unconditional love. It's incredible. Love. I mean, what intangible gift would you like to receive? Love, more love from other people, more love into myself, both. And I want to give love. I actually love it. I love giving love to other people, especially when it's appreciated. Only when it's appreciated. And I think we all need to figure out, who do we give love to? Who deserves our love? But one of the things, an intangible gift that I would like is I want to receive. So when you're raised to be a self-sacrificer, it is close to impossible to believe you deserve abundance and love. And so what intangible gift do I want? I want the ability to receive. I want money, love, kindness, joy, just to come to me, because I give it. Next card. How will sports change in the next 25 years? Okay. I'm an investor. I invest in sports tech. It falls under the health and wellness umbrella. And I don't invest in anything that's like sports betting, stuff like that. But I invest in like data analytics, performance analytics, fitness, wellness, mental health, but sports specifically, because I'm an athlete and I love working with athletes and supporting athletes. I think I resonate a lot with former athletes or current athletes or people who are like what they call them high flyers that really push their bodies. So you don't have to be a pro athlete to be in my inner circle. You could be someone who really cares about their health and maintaining their health. But I attended a conference, CES in Vegas, a couple of years ago before COVID, and it was I went in the sports tech conference and learned a lot about, excuse me, athletes and sports, and talked a lot about esports, sports betting, and how now kids who are doing gaming in the gaming world really view top YouTubers, top gamers as professional athletes. I listened to a speaker panel who was it? The head of the Washington Wizards. Is it the Washington Wizards? No. Was it Washington Wizards? I can't remember. He's affiliated with Washington, D.C. He's, what's his name? I'm going to remember. I just have to think about it. Leonosis. I forgot his dad is like a big time guy. What's his first name? Hold on. I can't remember his name. I know him. Hold on. He's great. What is it? Leonosis. That's his last name. Hold on one second. Zachary. That's right. He was on the panel. He's president of media and new enterprises, right? But for some reason, I feel like he's affiliated with. He went to Penn. Yeah, I'm looking on LinkedIn. He's awesome. His wife, I think, works for EverFi, which is a company launched by a Bowdoin guy who I'm friends with and play tennis with. Anyway, Zach was on the panel and talked about this very thing, that the future pro athletes are pro athletes that play a sport, but kids nowadays don't think about, Michael Jordan as the pro athlete. They're thinking of like some big gamer who makes, millions of dollars every couple months is the pro athlete. These gamers are considered athletes. And not only do they have nutritionists, they have trainers, chefs because gaming has a limited finite longevity. So you can't keep, it's almost like being an ER doctor. Burnout is sooner. You can't really, at least this is the data that exists out there. So this is what Zach was talking about, and it was really, really interesting, talking about the future of sports. The other thing is I'm an investor in sports tech. I love it. I'm obsessed about it. I actually worked with the founder from the UK Actually need to follow up with her. She's a female founder, and I invest in early stage. She's probably in a later stage, but I was helping her with her deck 2 years ago. And the technology that she had, which is amazing, was a AI technology that you put in the cameras that are on the field, like at the Super Bowl, when they like the NBC cameras that show like everything where it's live stream. It's technology you put in the cameras, and not only does it measure facial recognition, it also measures how fast a football is thrown, how fast a player's running, and also is able to feed, like, if you don't have time to watch the Super Bowl and you just want the highlights, the last 30 seconds or whenever something's scored, that can feed right to your cell phone. So you can get the replays within, minutes. I worked with her for almost 10 months, maybe a year, maybe a little less, and helped her with her deck and the pitch. It was really, really cool. And we were talking about, she was raising I forgot which round she was raising, but we talked a lot about athletes, and we talked a lot about technology and what fans want to see from athletes and from the league. So I think she had already teamed up with Premier League in the UK, and they were doing a deal together. But again, this is my playground. This is where I invest in, and this is the things I care about. But I think technology is driving a lot of the future of sports. And I think it's not just about ticket sales and the stadiums. It's about these sports teams getting involved in technology to find other revenue streams. The other thing is, one of the areas that I created like an investment thesis on is on the future of sports tech. And one of the areas that is a high growth area are the future of stadiums. So you're going to be able to go to like the Cubs game, walk in, and you have your phone on you. So once you literally pass like the entranceway, they, meaning the Cubs or Wrigley, whoever, is going to be able to recognize who you are, how much money you spent the last time you were, where you sit, your tickets, what's your average spend, what's your profile, your demographic profile. And then what they're going to do is, let's say you go to your seats, right? You're going to get customized text saying, hey, do you want a free upgrade? We're going to move you to section blah, blah, blah. Or promotions, like normally you order pizza, whatever, they're going to like buy 2 pieces, get whatever free. It's customized marketing because they're going to recognize your profile. This is called smart stadiums. It's the future. It's a huge, huge upfront investment, but that is what is happening. And that's, again, how do we grow revenue? By taking advantage of our loyal customers, by knowing what their preferences are. This is the future of sports. It's about technology. I know this. I studied it, and I network with all those people. Okay, next. If you were asked to design a new amusement park ride, what would it be? Oh, awesome. Oh, rides. First of all, I hate rides. I mean, my kids, when we go to, I've been to Disney like 18 times, Disney World. In my marriage, that's all we did. We went on the Disney European cruise. What is it? Barcelona. We did that. We did the Caribbean, where you're like some days in the Caribbean, the Disney cruise, the Caribbean Disney cruise, and some days actually in Disney World. That actually was a pretty good idea. I will say, I like that, where you can do like half cruise, half. It's great. But actually being in the park, I'm like, you guys go, I'm going to hang here with the strollers. Or like, I just, the nausea feeling, whatever. Like, I like the simple rides, like, like Small World, Pirates of the Caribbean. I know the whole song by heart. Soarin'. By the way, did you know Magic Kingdom's dry and Epcot's not? I remember I was at it was new when we were there. It was it was hot. It was like in the summer, or I don't know when it was. And we were in line, those long lines. We did not have a fast pass for this new ride. It was, Belle. It's the Belle and, what's it called? Beauty and the Beast. It was the Beauty and the Beast castle. I think it was either a ride or it was food. I think it was it was a meal. Those character meals? And we were in line. It was hot. And it was a long ass line. And you know how they tell you how many minutes? It was like 45 minutes. The sign that was next to us, and I said to my then husband at the time, I'm like, I can't. And the kids are complaining. I'm hungry. I'm hot. I'm tired. I want to sit down. I'm like, you could sit on the floor. And I'm like, said to him, I'm like, I can't be in this. I can't hear this and sweating in 45 minutes. And so I saw a sign that said like Gaston's Tavern. So I go, hold on. I said to him, I'm like, I see a sign that says there's a tavern over there. This is the Magic Kingdom at Disney World. I run over to the sign. There's somebody behind the thing. I'm like, can I have 2 beers? Just whatever beer you've got. I don't care what it is. And they're like, no. Magic Kingdom's a dry town or dry park. I'm like, excuse me? How did I not know this? They're like, yeah, you need to go to Epcot. And I said, and then I came back in line. I'm like, the last 2 days, we're staying in Epcot the whole time. So I don't know. I'm not really, if you were asked to design a new amusement park ride, what would it be? I mean, something really slow, kind of on water, like one of those boats. By the way, the Caribbean Disney cruise had this from one end of the ship to the other. I felt like it was like claustrophobia. You climb up all the, the stairs and you bring your raft, they give you a raft, a tube. And it was a tube. It was all like clear, but there's water that runs through it from one end of the ship. What is it? The stern? I don't know. And it went down all the way to the other side. And it dropped into the pool. Okay. Or whatever, dropped into something. But my kids were like, my son, begging me, Mom, I really want you to do it with me. Like their dad would always go because he's like a kid in himself, and I'm like, I can't be in that enclosed claustrophobic. I'm like, no. And so I literally did it. And I just had to like close my eyes. Actually really cool. When you're in this clear thing and all you see is the ocean all around, it's actually really cool. So maybe something like that, but that's not enclosed. And doesn't go so fast. All right, next. Which superhero is the strongest? I mean, honestly, my son's superhero that he created, and by the way, he created a book for me with illustrations, and I'm publishing it. I said to him, when I'm publishing mine, whoever is publishing it, I think I'm going to do self-publishing. I'm working with an editor, and I said, I have the draft. I'm like, I have to catch up to my son because he already created a draft. It's a children's book. It's his superhero. I'm not going to give the name away because I don't want anyone copying it. It's protected. I said, we're going to trademark this name and the illustration. And I said, he is the strongest superhero. And he did a book for me. My son created a book. It is going to be published. It's amazing. It's the super, and it's like saves COVID. Like it was during the middle of COVID. It was a birthday present for me. And this superhero, he had been writing comics for years when he was a little boy, when he first started writing. He's smart. He's like off the charts. Brilliant, my son. And really creative and amazing writer. Great imagination. And literally, all of a sudden, when he reached a certain age, he just stopped writing. And I begged him, and he's like, Mom, what do you want for your birthday? This years had gone by, a couple years, like 3 years. And I asked him to bring back the superhero. I said, I think we need a superhero right now, especially during COVID. I think we need to see him. Can he please make a return? So without telling me, he creates, it's not a little book, it's like a big book and literally staples it together. He has a whole colored like illustrations, and there's a little COVID, the character of like the little round COVID with the spiky thingies. He's like, look, that's one of the nemesis. It's really cute. But it's this, I can't say who it is, but his superhero is going to save the world. He saved the world. That was the end of the story. Okay, this is the last one. This is girl power, and then I got to run. Ooh, we're late. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's a badass. She was a badass. Rest in peace. Here's her quote. I think a law clerk told me about this Tumblr and also explained to me what Notorious RBG was a parody on. And now my grandchildren love it, and I try to keep abreast of the latest on Tumblr. Wow. That's a thing. How amazing is that? This is what happens, guys. It's amazing. I think she's very humble, and I do think when you're a leader and you are really powerful and you're a role model, um, people view you in a certain way, and they come up with their own spin, take, whatever, and I think it's awesome. I think it's inspiring. I think it's and the thing is, she and other leaders aren't doing it for the fame and fortune. They're doing it for helping others. And I think that's what we need to focus on as leaders is when we are pursuing our true north, we do it in such a way as to help others, to make an impact. We're not doing it to gain fame and fortune. That's critical. That's critical. It shows humility and it shows purpose. What kind of advice would you appreciate from a happy and successful 80-year-old? Like my dad. My dad. Guys, my dad. My dad's 80, 81 maybe. Because he's humble, he's kind, he's respectful, and he's got a great reputation with all the people, all his patients. He's a doctor, was a doctor. And treated my mom really nicely. And he gains respect from his daughters. And my dad, I'm going to start crying. Oh my God, I'm going to start crying. I remember when I got divorced and I was crying. Oh my God. It was Christmas and I was having, let me preempt this. My dad is not an emotional, he did not show emotions growing up. He's not a huggy, lovey type. He's very stoic. And anytime, and he's an introvert. So he also is in a family with all women. He was the only man. And so I remember him always sitting at the head of the dining room table or the kitchen table, and he wouldn't really talk. All the women are like chit-chatting, like hens in a hen house, chit-chatting, dominating the conversation. No, right? But the minute he opened his mouth, everyone shuts up. Because we want to hear what he has to say. And half the time he's joking, which is amazing. But it's not like he's being gruff or stoic when he opens his mouth, but he's hilarious. And he just rolls with the punches, and it's amazing. But I remember when I got divorced, and it was Christmas time, and I was at my parents', and I was crying, and I said, I just want this to be over with. I don't want to be sad anymore. When am I going to be happy? And I was really, that's when I hit rock bottom. I felt alone and lonely, and everything, I felt like I was at the bottom. And this is what I'm going to talk about in my book, climbing out of the deep, dark hole, and what I had to do it. And again, it has a lot to do with self-worth. He said, this is just one Christmas. I start crying. There's going to be more Christmases. In a couple more Christmases, you're going to be fine. What kind of advice would you appreciate from a happy and successful 80-year-old? It's my dad. Anyway, guys, I hope this was a good session. Tune in tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I'll announce it tomorrow morning. But True North, all about overcoming adversity, living life authentically, and pursuing your purpose. Later, guys. Happy Valentine's Day. See ya.